Hi there, how are you doing? It's been a bit. Today I have something very special for you. It is the first video in a series of videos I am going to do on this channel called Con Stories. Now, as the title suggests, it is about cons and stories I have from those cons and other events, meetups, picnics, whatever. Some of them are funny, some of them are cautionary tales, what not to do when you're at an event, or maybe when to stop. But today we are starting off with a rather, I wanted to say tame, but I don't know if tame's the right word, because this is the story of my first con, and it was a doozy, and not even because of the con itself, but because of the events that led up to the con. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, keep on watching. Okay, so starting off, I would recommend we grab a drink because it's going to get frigid. Okay, this is the story of my first con and how we almost didn't make it to the convention. So my first convention was FrostCon 2013. Now up until this point I hadn't attended any conventions. I had just been cosplaying with my friends and by myself, and I hadn't really dipped my toes into the convention scene because I was socially anxious and I didn't really have the chance to, and that's a whole story in itself, but basically I did not start attending conventions until this con. So the reason I attended this con in the first place was because cosplayers that I was a fan of announced their guest appearance there, and I was super excited. Asked my mom if I could go, and she decided to come with me, so we bought 2 tickets, and I remember for the months leading up to that, I was watching all these con survival guides, and I was looking up videos and really taking in the environment. I had no idea what to expect, and honestly, all of the preparations I did completely flew out the window in hindsight, but it was a fun few months. And that autumn, I was going super hard with my Death Note cosplays, so to that convention I ended up wearing Mellow, and that was when I was wearing Party Store wig. It was not a look, but you know, I had also been dabbling with SFX makeup, and so I was super proud of this burn scar I did, and I was just having the time of my life. I was so excited. I was like, I'm finally a real cosplayer. I'm going to a convention. That was my tunnel vision for months. And it's funny because this convention was only a day. We didn't get a hotel. We were just gonna drive up there, drive back, and that would be that. Now the drive there from where I live was about an hour, give or take, and we had made that trip many times for concerts and whatnot, but you know, it was a different experience, and I love traveling in general. I love road trips. But anyway, okay, enough rambling. Now, the day of the convention, I put on my makeup, I put on my costume, I grab my chocolate bar, and we get in the car and we go. I remember being so anxious before, during, and after this convention. Like, my stomach was killing me. I had the jitters. I was so excited to be going to a convention, but I was also scared. I was really scared. I was kind of a shut-in as a kid. I went through a lot in high school, so this was really the first social interaction I was getting outside of school. I kind of was hiding this side of myself from the other kids. Despite being anxious, despite being terrified, despite worrying that no one was gonna like my costume, I got in the car and we went. The weather, unfortunately, had other plans for us. See, it was okay. It was okay in the beginning. There was just some snow. It was mid-December, so we were kind of expecting some snow, but as we continued driving, it started getting worse. And then it started getting worse. And then it became a whiteout blizzard. The car was shaking. We couldn't see anything. There were people in front, behind, to the sides of us, and we were boxed in, but we couldn't see anything. We knew that other drivers were there because they kind of swerve into our line of sight and then swerve out of our line of sight, but we had no idea. So there were cars coming at us, and we had to continue down this road. And it was on the highway, so we were trapped in a blizzard on the highway. There were some points where we thought we were gonna have to turn around. I kept asking. I was like, should we go back. But my mom was very determined to get me to this convention, and I thank her endlessly for humoring little me, because she really is a big player in my cosplay journey, and she carted me around to all these conventions and takes photos for me, and she's been a cheerleader. Basically, turning around wasn't an option. My mom wasn't gonna let it happen, and I couldn't really do anything about it, and I still wanted to go to this convention. We didn't know what was gonna happen, but, you know, we continued on. So you can imagine that the normally hour trip was going to take a little longer, and it did. It took upwards of 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours. I honestly can't remember. It felt like forever, and I was already so anxious and just wanting to get to the con and get in there, but we were trapped in this car, in this blizzard, and there was no way out. So it was really funny because at that point I was still trying to record videos for YouTube. So there's actually a video of my mom and I going to this convention, and I was filming the road, and I can't find it, but it was so funny. After a while, we turned on some tunes and we were listening to the K-On! Soundtrack and just screaming the lyrics at the top of our lungs because we were just so terrified. Now we finally get there after 2.5 hours, and I get cold feet. I know, I'm hilarious. I used to do this thing when I went to conventions where I thought that I was gonna be the only one in costume when I got there, or I thought we were going to be in the wrong place, and I thought I was gonna step out in all my glory and I was just gonna get humiliated. And that was just a weird little anxiety thing that I used to have. Obviously that wasn't the case, but I remember taking my sweet time getting out of the car. And it was funny because for those few hours I wanted nothing more than to get out of the car, but now that we were actually at the con, I was sitting there and I was like, I want to stay in the car. Also, it was freezing and I was wearing mellow. I had a leather jacket, but the costume itself really wasn't meant for winter. So I finally gathered the courage to go into the convention, and I was mind blown. Absolutely mind blown. When I stepped in through those doors, I still remember it to this day, seeing a con floor for the first time and being like, this is where I belong. This is absolutely where I belong. It was a smaller con, so I had absolutely no frame of reference, but I thought it was huge, and there were a lot of people there, in my mind. Now, I have attended Anime North. Anime North was actually my second con, so it was a big difference from FrostCon, but I remember stepping in and being like, wait, I'm not the only one that actually dresses up in costume and does this? Especially in my area. I had, again, no frame of reference. I had no idea of the flourishing cosplay scene in my area. So basically, in a nutshell, the rest of the con went well. I attended all the panels that the cosplay guests were at. I got to chat with them. It was a great time. I was super anxious that first con, so I didn't really make any friends or anything, but I really just allowed myself to take in everything. And also I bought a bunch of stuff and it was fun. But yeah, so after that con, we went home, everything was fine. I was reeling for the next few days, and as I mentioned, my next con was Anime North, but I do think that's a story for another time. So I hope you enjoyed the story, I hope it gave you a chuckle, I hope maybe it resonated with someone, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.